Emma had just moved into her new apartment on the 12th floor of an old building downtown. The rent was cheap, and though the place had an eerie vibe, she shrugged it off. After all, old buildings creak, right? Her first night was quiet, until around 2 a.m., when she woke to a soft whispering. At first, she thought it might be the wind, but the sound was too rhythmic, too deliberate. She sat up in bed, straining to hear where it was coming from. The whispering seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. Emma! Her heart skipped a beat. She could have sworn she heard her name. But that wasn't possible. It had to be her imagination. Trying to calm her racing heart, she closed her eyes and forced herself to go back to sleep. The next day, she brushed it off as a dream, the remnants of her subconscious adjusting to the new space. She spent the day unpacking, hanging curtains, and organizing her new life. The sun poured through the windows, illuminating the dusty corners of the apartment, making it feel more like home. But in the back of her mind, she couldn't shake the memory of the whispering. That night, after finishing a cup of tea, Emma climbed into bed and turned off the lights. The city was quiet, and for a while, she drifted into a peaceful sleep. But again, around 2 a.m., the whispering returned. Emma, come closer. She bolted upright, her skin crawling. This time, she was sure the voice was real. It was calling to her, beckoning her. With trembling hands, she turned on the bedside lamp. The room was empty, and the whispering had stopped. Terrified, Emma decided to inspect the walls. She pressed her ear against the cold surface, straining to hear anything. And then, faintly, almost imperceptibly, she heard it again. Emma, help us. The voice was clearer now, almost as if it was coming from within the walls. A chill ran down her spine, and she stumbled back. She decided to call her landlord the next day. There had to be a logical explanation for the sounds. Maybe faulty pipes or some kind of draft running through the building. The landlord, an old man named Mr. Harris, was surprised by her complaint, but promised to come and check it out. Whispering, you say? In the walls, he muttered, scratching his head as he inspected the apartment. I've been managing this building for 20 years, and no one's ever mentioned anything like that. But no matter how much he searched, Mr. Harris couldn't find anything wrong with the apartment. No leaks, no drafts, nothing. He left, telling her to call again if the noises continued. That night, Emma lay in bed, dreading 2 a.m. She kept her eyes on the clock, her body tense with anticipation. As the time crept closer, her heartbeat quickened. And then, right on cue, the whispering returned. Emma, why won't you help us? It was louder this time, more urgent. She jumped out of bed and grabbed a flashlight, determined to find the source. The whispers were definitely coming from the walls. But how? She grabbed a chair and pressed her ear to the wall, moving it slowly along the surface. Suddenly, the whispering stopped. Then, from inside the wall, came a soft thudding. Emma froze. It sounded like something, or someone, was trying to get out. Panic seized her. She backed away, but the thudding grew louder, more frantic. Let us out, Emma! The voice was pleading now, desperate. Unable to handle the fear, she grabbed her phone and called her friend Sarah. Within minutes, Sarah was on her way, telling Emma to stay calm and that they'd figure this out together. When Sarah arrived, Emma told her everything. The whispering, the thudding, the voices calling her name. Sarah, skeptical but wanting to help, suggested they knock on the walls to see if there was a hollow spot, maybe a hidden space they didn't know about. They began tapping along the wall when they heard it, a hollow echo. Both women froze. There's something behind there, Sarah whispered. They found a hammer in Emma's toolkit, and, hesitantly, Sarah began to chip away at the plaster. It took some time, but eventually, a small hole began to form. What they uncovered was horrifying. Behind the wall, they found a narrow, hidden room. The air was musty, thick with the smell of decay. In the corner, they saw what looked like skeletal remains, 2 bodies curled up, as if they had been trapped there for years. Emma's blood ran cold. The whispering voices, had they been from the spirits of the people entombed in this hidden room? Just then, the whispering returned, louder than ever. Thank you. Emma. The voice was no longer pleading, but grateful. The police were called, and the investigation that followed revealed a chilling story. Decades ago, during the building's construction, 2 workers had gone missing. It was assumed they had simply left the city, but in reality, they had been accidentally sealed inside the walls. After the bodies were removed and laid to rest, the whispering stopped. But Emma could never forget what had happened. Even after she moved out of the apartment, the memory of the voices calling her name haunted her. She could still hear them sometimes, in her dreams, whispering from the walls.